Well, we want to welcome everybody today. We are going to be talking about our new student application and all of our admission steps. I want to welcome you, and if anybody has their camera or sound on, please make sure that you're on mute. We are going to be recording this presentation today. I have with me today Patrick Jacobs, who's going to be my sound person and manning our chat. And if you have any questions at all, please use the chat box. And as we're going through the presentation, we'll be answering that for you. And at the very end, we'll answer some of those questions. Maybe I'm sure a lot of students have the same types of questions. So we'll address all those as we end the presentation. But for now, just use the chat box and Patrick will be manning my chat and taking care of answering those questions as we go along. So my name is Teri Pagano, and I'm in the admissions office, and we handle the calls for students or emails for students that need help submitting their application and navigating the admissions process. So remember, when you're doing your application, that's not the only step you have to do. You have to do a couple of steps to get through, and then you'll be admitted as a student. So I think we're ready to get going, and I just want to make sure I gave everybody a little bit of time to get their sound and their computers going, and we'll get started with the presentation. First of all, when you're doing your application, you'll go to our website, macomb.edu/start. We ask that you create an admissions application first. And when you start that admissions account, you'll be putting in a lot of information for yourself. And then after you do the admissions account, we want to make sure that you're using an email address that you check frequently, not your high school email address, because we need to communicate with you. And sometimes when students leave the high school, that email address goes away. So we want to make sure that you're using an email that you check frequently. Okay. When you're creating your admissions account, you're first going to put in your name and last name. You'll see the red asterisks. All of those steps are going to be mandatory. So we just want to give you some screenshots and let you know what to expect when you're filling out that application. When you're entering your high school, try just putting in part of the name. Sometimes it won't get recognized. So for instance, instead of putting in Lakeshore High School, just put in Lakeshore, and you'll see the drop-down area, and you can choose your school from there. If you can't find your school, we need you to click on School Not Found, and then you can enter the name and the address in the box that will appear. Some students have a high school that is no longer there, so they might not be on our list. It could have closed. And so we want to make sure that we have another option for you to fill that box in. When choosing your, in the personal part, when choosing your application, we want to make sure you're choosing the correct way. So if you choose first-time U.S. college student, you'll see information like this. You see, we kind of filled it in as like a test account, but just to give you an idea of what to expect. If you're a transfer student or you're going to be a different type of student, you'll have an option to be able to change that. Here's some questions with the red asterisks. And like I said earlier, these are required steps. So you do need to fill this in. One of the required steps also is entering your Social Security number. This is required for all applicants to Macomb. When you apply at Macomb, you'll see at the top of the page the tabs. And at the bottom right, at the bottom of each page, you'll see Save and Continue. So try not to use your arrows a lot going back and forth. Keep hitting that Save and Continue button. This will let you move forward in the application. And also, if you need to leave the application at some point, it will save the information and let you continue later. Again, when I was talking about being a first-time college student, we do have other options. If you're attending another university right now and you just want to come to Macomb for a class or two and transfer back to your school, then you would be considered a guest student. A lot of students will be applying for the first time as a U.S. college student. If you are still in high school and you're going to be taking college courses, you'll choose the third one down, which is early admit or dual enrollment in high school. If you're just going to be taking a class or two just for personal interest, you will choose personal interest student. And then, of course, if you're coming from another university or college, community college, you'll choose transfer student. If you're starting at the college for the first time after you graduate high school, just remember to put first-time college student. Some students think I haven't graduated yet, so I'm still in high school, but I'll be graduated by the time I start college. So they get a little confused and choose, while still in high school. But make sure if you're graduating by the time you start Macomb, make sure you choose first-time college student. You may get an error message after trying to submit that application. So if you scroll up a little bit, you'll get this box that'll show up, and it'll show exactly what is missing, or if a digit's missing or something's wrong, it's not entered correctly. All you have to do is click on the blue Social Security number. It will take you right to that point. And then you can scroll back up and see what other error message you're getting. And then you can click on that link and it will take you right to that point. So you don't have to keep searching through your application to find out what error you're getting. Once your application is successfully submitted, and make sure that you do the admissions account and then start application and submit application. Some students do set up their admissions account and then do not submit the application. So they're calling us that they haven't received an email, and that's why they haven't fully submitted the application. So make sure that you do that. Right after receiving your application, you're going to get a notice that says, "We've received your application." So you know you've done it correctly. After that process, it will take 3 to 5 days, and you're going to get an email that says Macomb application update. On that application update, there will be a link to get into your admissions account right underneath your Macomb user ID, which will be assigned to you. Make sure that you check your spam and junk folder. Sometimes you may get that we've received your application, but because that number is secure, it pops over sometimes to the junk and trash folder. So make sure that you're always checking that too. Once you get that email with your ID number on it, the link will be right below for your admissions account. You can click on that. Once you're in your admissions account, it's going to look like this: action required, and then to the right of that, it's going to say view. And that's where you're going to find out your admission steps. You can also check your admissions account to learn about upcoming events and track the steps that you need. This is what it's going to look like. So some students may have some different steps, so make sure that you're following what you need. The ones with the red asterisks, if you look down, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it says new student orientation. That is required. So make sure that you click on that to start your new student orientation. Some students fill out a FAFSA and see on this viewing item that it's not received. The items that do not have the red asterisk by it will not show that we received it. So we get a lot of calls on that too. It doesn't have the capability of showing those non-mandatory steps showing received. So if you've sent in your transcripts and done your FAFSA, you can follow up, but just remember it's not going to show on your admissions account. only the required steps with the red asterisks are going to show received. And those are the new student orientation, starting at Macomb session with the counseling office. When you talk to them, they will determine if a placement test is necessary for the student. And then they will talk to you about your course planning. Right now, students are doing the new student orientation is always online. And the students are calling the counseling office to finish their starting at Macomb placement test and course planning. So remember, the ACT and SAT scores are not mandatory at this time, so they do not have to be sent in unless the counselor is asking for them. So go ahead, don't wait for those transcripts to be sent, or if you haven't taken your SAT test, don't worry about it. You're going to be discussing that with the counseling office. So it's a new student orientation, calling or emailing our counseling office. I will also let you know that they are extremely busy at this time because classes start in a couple of weeks. So we're just asking for a little bit of patience at this time while they try to help all the students. It is a conversation that they have for the students' benefit, so they do want to take their time speaking to each student. We want to let you know that the Macomb recruiters are here for you. And if you have any questions, I see some of them are coming in a chat right now. So maybe we can address some of those questions and see how we can help you. So Patrick, I'm going to kind of turn it to you to try to see if you can maybe read off some of those questions and we can read off the answers. I do see here one right here that I'm just going to address. Are masks required for in-person classes in the fall? A few weeks ago, they were not mandating it, but as of right now, they are asking students to wear their masks. You will get updates on our website. So I would just like to refer you to our website to have that question answered. Because this is changing daily, as you all know. So before classes start, I'm going to ask you to also check our website. And we are offering 70% of our classes online. So if there's about 30% that are on campus, typically those classes are more in labs. Some of our medical fields, if they have a lab, those are kind of necessary to do on campus. And the other classes like welding, automotive, some of the things where you really do need to be on campus, they are offering those on ground. So, okay, great. Patrick, if you want to answer some of these questions. Let's see.
I'm responding to one of the questions in the box right now, directed to the student. But other than that, yeah, what other kind of questions do you have? You can feel free to type them in and we'll go ahead and address them.
Okay. So I think some of the steps while we're waiting for some students to chat us, some of the students, just to kind of recap, a lot of the phone calls that we get might be a student who applied to Macomb and were admitted, went through all the steps, but never took classes. But since they were admitted and through the funnel, we ask that you do click on returning student, even if you didn't take classes, but you did get all the way through the funnel with your steps. And if it's been several years, we'd like you to do an update form. So you would click on returning student and do an update form if it has been a couple of years. So that's a question we get asked often. Patrick, if you have a link for the classes starting in the winter semester, I think we have our important dates. Maybe we could put the link up there for our important dates. And we can address our winter and spring summer semester. We'll put a link in there for you. And oh, here's a great question. Do you feel first-time students benefit more from in-person or online classes? And my answer to this is it depends on the student. Some students do better in classroom, and other students do better online. So I think you kind of have to know what type of student you are. Of course, we would love to offer all our classes on campus. Right now, we're just taking some precaution. And so I hope you bear with us on that. But I know some students who love online classes and will not take anything else, and other students who prefer to do online. So I believe it depends on the student. They are asking also how to contact the counseling office. So I'm going to put some emails in here. If you're a first-time student, you're going to use Ask an Advisor for starting at Macomb. You're going to use Ask an Advisor at macomb.edu. And I'm also going to plug in the phone number for you. It's our general number. And I'll have all that for you in the chat. So if you have already been through the process and you want to talk to counseling, you're going to email counseling at Macomb if you need to talk about classes. But if you're just starting through the funnel and you need to do a starting at Macomb session, please use the Ask an Advisor at macomb.edu, or you can give them a call. And the best time to call is in the morning. Great question. Where do I go to find out what classes I need to take? These are all such great questions. I'm really enjoying this. This is a question that is asked often. When you're contacting the counseling office, starting at Macomb session, they're going to discuss with you if a placement test is necessary. They may ask you to report your GPA or just tell them the SAT scores. They're going to talk to you about it. After they do that, if you do not need the placement test, they will recommend classes for you. So it's just like high school, you're going to be getting that information from the counseling office. So if you, they will be referring you to what classes will be necessary. And it's always good to check with our counselors, not just once and try to follow things yourself, but it's always good to reach out to the counseling office, you know, every semester, every other semester, and just make sure you're on track. We are having multiple registration for semesters, so you can register for fall, winter, and spring, which is great. You don't have to go in each time. The payments would be different, of course. Your payment dates would be different, but when you do the multiple registration, you don't have to go in each time. So you could talk to your counselor to get full schedule of classes for each semester. But then after that, it's always good to touch bases with them to find out what they need. Okay. I had a question back here. Oh, yes, the recording will be able to be viewed later. That's a great question. It'll be, you can grab it off our website or YouTube, and it probably will be edited, and it'll probably be about a week before that's available. Here's another question. I still haven't registered for classes, and I don't know where to find out what classes I'm required to take. So my answer would be to you, if you've already spoke to the counseling office, I would reach back out to them if you're unclear of what you need to take. However, if you have not gone through the process of your admission steps, that is one of the things that you're going to be doing. So my question to you would be, if you've already checked to the counseling office and still unsure, make sure you email them back and clarify what classes you need to take. And if not, that question will be answered in your counseling, your course planning session. Okay, these are some great questions. We appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions for us after the session is ended, please reach out to our admissions office. You can reach us at admissions@macomb.edu or our general number. There's another question I heard who I talked to about regarding the GI Bill. That would be our veterans area. We have a full veterans area that would be happy to assist you. Oh, okay. All right, Patrick, are you seeing any other questions?
I am not. I'm answering them as they come in.
Okay, great. If you see anything else that we need to share, let me know. Trying to think of some of the other questions. Sometimes students get an email from one of our departments and they'll call us and ask what it's in regards to. We just want to just kind of reiterate to you that check that email that you're receiving, because it could be coming from financial aid, or it could be coming from one of our departments, maybe even records if you've already registered. And it's important to try to reply to the department that is asking you the questions. If it's financial aid and they need more documentation, it's very important that you respond promptly, because we want to make sure that all that paperwork gets in properly for you. So you can always check that email first and find out who it's coming from. Sometimes those financial aid emails, we're not able to see who's sending them to you. So always check that. Okay, we did have another question here, I believe. Oh, how do you know what credits will get transferred? This is a great question, because this is something that you're going to discuss with your counselor. If you are planning on transferring to another school, they will make sure that those credits transfer to that university. I always recommend that you call the university too and speak with them, just in case they made any changes in their classes and didn't change it online, because that's what we refer to. But our counselors are very helpful in helping you with the transfer transition. We also have what's called an MTA, Michigan Transfer Agreement. So you may want to transfer, but don't know what university you're going to transfer to. So this is a great way to make sure that those credits transfer to any university. If you haven't decided on your major, it might be worth waiting to see where you're going to transfer to until you know exactly what major you're going into, to make sure that university has it. So if you're not quite sure, you can also, the counselors will recommend you to follow the Michigan Transfer Agreement. Okay, so these are some great questions. And again, you can feel free to call our office if you're not quite sure who to talk to. Here's a great question for Patrick, and I know he's answering this in the chat. We get a lot of questions about our Michigan Reconnect. We do have some sessions online regarding this, so if you want to join one of our information sessions, you can. So these are some really great questions. And just to remind you too, when you're entering your email address, when creating your account, you'll also create a password. So make sure that you're remembering which password you're using. I know I have about 500 passwords, but that's always good. So just make sure that you're Okay. And Patrick, we're still running the Michigan Reconnect sessions they can find online.
Yes, we are. We have one tomorrow, actually, at 12:30. And just to let you know, for the listeners on here, I am in the process of answering your Future for Frontliners questions. So I'll get that information to you in a couple minutes.
Great. So we're going to probably wrap up very shortly. So again, if you have any further questions, feel free to use the chat and we'll be happy to answer that for you. Those of you that are waiting on a response, and if you don't have any further questions, we just want to thank you again for being with us today. And please reach out to our office. We have I'll put our email address in here in case you have any questions. Okay, so there's our general email address. You can email us anytime in case you're not having, if you have some questions, or you can give us a call and it'll prompt you for the admissions office. So again, we're just going to conclude today. I appreciate you being with us. And if you have any more questions, you can stay on. If not, everyone have a great day and make sure to make Macomb your very first step.